This is the Polestar 4, the long-range single-motor version. In this video, I'm going to find out its real-world range, not in a lab, but here in Belgium under daily driving conditions. We will test the range in the city, on the motorway and on secondary roads to determine the minimum and maximum consumption. This will allow us to estimate the minimum and maximum range. I also wanted to know how long it takes to charge the battery at a fast charger. The Polestar 4 long-range single motor is an electric car equipped with a 100 kilowatt-hour battery. The net capacity is 94 kilowatt-hours. The power output is 272 horsepower. On paper, Polestar gives a WLTP range of 620 kilometers. Let's see what remains of that in practice. We start the test in Brussels. I pick up the test car in the north of the city and drive straight through the city towards the east side of Brussels. Immediately, we hit the busiest traffic, stop and go driving, stopping, accelerating, typical city traffic. What immediately strikes me here is not the cobblestones or the speed bumps, but how the car handles them. The suspension is genuinely comfortable. It dampens uneven surfaces exceptionally well, ensuring high levels of comfort. Okay, after driving 16 kilometers at a low average speed of 17 kilometers per hour, we have a first figure. The consumption clocks in at 23.1 kilowatt hours. That is quite high. If we extrapolate a consumption of 23.1 kilowatt hours based on the net battery capacity, we arrive at an estimated city range of 407 kilometers. You notice that constant stopping and accelerating, even in an EV, still has an impact on consumption. Time to leave the city. We take the motorway towards Namur, heading for the Ardennes roads. We drive 120 kilometers per hour where possible, occasionally slower due to roadworks, but generally it's a smooth drive. The Polestar 4 also feels like a true cruiser here. It's stable, the pilot assist works well, and the driver assistance systems are not intrusive. No annoying beeps. What does stand out to me is that there is a fair amount of road noise and wind noise audible. After 100 kilometers on the motorway, we check in. Average speed was 84.3 kilometers per hour and the consumption was 20.3 kilowatt hours. And that is interesting. It is lower than in the city. I didn't immediately expect that. This gives an estimated motorway range of 463 kilometers. We are near Marche-en-Famenne and leave the motorway. We are now driving on country roads and I want to feel what the car is capable of. I drove a bit more aggressively for a few kilometers, accelerated more often, and then continued calmly. After 43 kilometers on these roads at 12 degrees Celsius, the average consumption is 21 kilowatt hours. I'm quite pleased with that. It's not much higher than the motorway drive. This brings the sporty range to 448 kilometers. I now have an idea of the consumption when driving vigorously, but I also want to see the other side, the maximum range. That's why I reset the trip computer one more time. We are now looking for the typical B roads, little traffic, no stoplights, and just driving smoothly at a constant speed of about 70 kilometers per hour. These are roughly the ideal circumstances. After a 34 kilometer drive under these conditions, I read a consumption of 13 kilowatt hours. That is a completely different figure. Of course, it's a short test of only 34 kilometers, but if you can maintain this consumption, you're talking about a theoretical driving range of 723 kilometers. That's a huge difference from the 407 kilometers in the city. It mainly shows how great the influence of your driving style and the conditions is. If you want to calmly review the results of this test, go to my site. I will link it below the video. There you will find not only this test, but also range tests of dozens of other cars and almost 400 test drive videos. Let's now do a charging test at a fast charger. The Polestar 4 can fast charge at a speed of up to 200 kilowatts. Polestar says it takes 30 minutes to charge from 10% to 80%. For this test, I set off in the early evening. The battery is cold, but I enter the fast charger's destination into the navigation system. At the start of the test, the battery is only 12% full. It is 15 degrees outside. The car indicated that it would take about an hour and a half to fully charge the battery. I'm going to do a 30-minute charging test. In the beginning, the car was charging at a speed of around 118 kilowatts. After 10 minutes, I was charging at a speed of 109 kilowatts. The battery increased to 30% and we gained about 101 kilometers of range. After 20 minutes, I noticed we were charging at a speed of 122 kilowatts. I gained another 100 kilometers of range. After 30 minutes, the battery is at 67%. The charging speed is 93 kilowatts and the range indicator shows 356 kilometers. So we went from 12% to 67% in 30 minutes, gaining a total of almost 300 kilometers of range. I also don't know why I didn't come close to the 200 kilowatt charging speed. So let's put it down to fast charging with a cold battery. All right, the numbers are one thing. What is the car itself like to live with? On the outside, I find those frameless mirrors to be a very neat styling element. It's a sleek, minimal design. But then there is, of course, the most discussed point. There is no rear window. Instead, you look into a digital mirror, which displays a camera image. And I must say, it takes getting used to. I have the impression that objects seem much closer than they are. It's not unusable, but it makes distance estimation a bit more difficult. My advice is to definitely take a test drive yourself. Whether you like this or not is very personal. I also tested the car at night. Driving with the digital mirror may be slightly more challenging then. There is also a reflection of the ambient lighting from the back in the mirror. The interior itself is stylish and feels solid. The materials are nice, such as that grey fabric on the dashboard. The car is also practical, with lots of storage space. And in the back, there is more than enough room. You can easily sit there with 3 people. There is also sufficient headroom. A small side note, despite the large panoramic roof, the interior still feels a bit dark. This is also due to the lack of that rear window. And how does it drive? There aren't many driving modes, no separate comfort or sport setting. What you can adjust is the steering feel from light to firm and the degree of one-pedal drive. It is not an overtly sporty car for taking corners. It accelerates smoothly as you would expect from an EV, but it is not a playful car. What did strike me is that it understeers slightly in corners. Where it truly excels is comfort. That suspension is set up so pleasantly. That is a major plus point for me. Parking is also very smooth thanks to the very clear 360-degree camera. As expected, there are also the necessary driver assistance systems such as the pilot assist and lane change assist. These do their job well on the motorway, allowing you to relax a bit more behind the wheel. The biggest point of criticism, for me personally, that is the key. The system works perfectly. You walk towards the car and it unlocks. You walk away and it locks. But there are no physical buttons on it, so you cannot quickly open the boot from a distance. In the dark, you also just have to walk away from your car and trust that it will lock itself. It all happens, no problem. But ultimately, I just want to be able to press that button when I want to. And if the system doesn't detect you for some reason, you have to perform actions with the key. I personally don't find that very convenient. The infotainment system, on the other hand, is well designed. It's fast and you can easily find most things. Almost everything goes through the screen, meaning very few physical buttons. So the conclusion, what is the range of the Polestar 4 long-range single motor? From my tests, at temperatures between 12 and 14 degrees Celsius, the minimum range appears to be somewhere between 407 kilometers, for example in heavy city traffic, and a theoretical maximum range of 723 kilometers in the most ideal conditions. In practice, for most people, it will be somewhere in between. I suspect you will have slightly less range in colder temperatures and certainly a bit more in the summer. You can find the full specs of the test car and the report on my website. I will put the link below this video. I am curious what you all think of this car and especially that digital rear view mirror. Let me know in the comments.